Okay, I just want to welcome everybody to the Chat with the Chief this evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to go over a few of our housekeeping here. For those of you who are joining us on Zoom, we have captioning available if you need that service. And we also have translation, English to Spanish. So if you need that, go ahead and select interpretation, and Lupe will be able to assist you. In addition, we are going to be streaming live to Facebook, and the recording will be available on Facebook, and then we'll also have it available on our YouTube channel following this evening's chat. So I'm going to send it over to Lupe for you to take it from here.
Hola, buenas tardes. Me llamo Lupe y voy a dar interpretación. Si usted tiene alguna pregunta, por favor, use la función de chat. Gracias. Y ahora nuestro anfitrión, Ken Schreier, un agente de buenas raíces. And now we welcome our guest host, Ken Schreier, who is a local realtor.
Hey, everybody. So my name is Ken Schreier, as Lupe just mentioned. I own the local RE/MAX brokerage here in downtown Cotati. 21-year resident of Rohnert Park, and I'm going to be fielding all your questions tonight. And so I've got a couple that are in the queue already that we've gotten. Chief, are you all ready?
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping I'm ready for you. Go ahead.
Right. We'll go from easy to hard. How's that sound?
I'm good.
Okay.
Buenas tardes, ¿sí me escuchan bien?
One of the questions that came up is, and I get this a lot even from my clients, is, you know, how's downtown doing? How are we looking with the old State Farm property?
Good, okay.
Thank you for that question. So, you know, this is a question that comes up quite a bit. I know when I was looking at coming here, that development was just coming through council and getting approved, and I know I was excited about it, and a lot of people were excited about it. What I will tell you is that that is a privately owned piece of property that a developer is looking at. The city has done everything we can to help with that and to get it moving along. I don't believe COVID helped in that manner, but the city is constantly working with the owners to try to get that development moving and off the ground. And so, hopefully at some point we will have a beautiful downtown where people can come out and enjoy some of the new shops in that area. But I do know that the city is doing everything they can to move forward and get that property going and getting it developed. But it is privately owned, so the city can't just go in and build the building. We can just help the developer.
Was it the developer's choice at that point to level all the buildings and take out all the trees that were there? Was that their decision to make? Obviously, the land.
Yeah, it's probably a question outside my wheelhouse on this one. It's more of a development services question on that. But I do know that early on, the developer and the city were working together to try to get that moving forward. And there were some stoppages, and then COVID hit, and so hopefully we will see buildings going upward, out of the ground here soon, so we can have that downtown everybody dreams about.
I'd love to see some live music over there. Another question we had, and this came in, was what happened to the officer that had drove up north, that was in the paper, that was pulling people over, I think, on the freeway. Is that right, up there?
Yeah, so years ago, the department and actually the county was, at one point working together on interdiction, drug interdiction and marijuana interdiction. And Rohnert Park was part of that. And there were officers who were assigned to that workforce to try to stop drugs from coming in and out of the county and city of Rohnert Park. The officers that were involved in the interdiction issues that were taking place up on 101 north of here, they are not employed here. anymore. I can tell you that. And many of the individuals who were in like areas of supervision and management and at that time, they're no longer with the department. And if people have paid attention to that story at all, they'll know. And if not, I'll let them know that officers that were involved in some of the interdiction issues have recently been indicted by the federal court. And so we're waiting to see where that goes. But you know, the department acted swiftly with that situation, and that is not the behavior that was taking place at that point isn't tolerated. You know, we are here to protect the public and serve the public. And you know, when we as a department find out that there are issues going on and that we have officers that aren't following our policies, procedures, or state law, then we deal with them. And we deal with them swiftly. Okay,
thank you. One of the questions that I thought I would also throw out there for you to answer is, you know, in my business, obviously doing, you know, helping with people with buying and selling, we're seeing a lot of folks that are moving out of the area as they get older and their kids leave the roost and so forth. So we're seeing people moving Sacramento, Solano County, a lot of them moving out of state. A lot of them are actually leaving before the house sells or is sold or even closes escrow. So there's a lot more vacant houses that we're selling. Some of them are staged, some of them aren't. And so are you seeing more issues or more complaints with either vandalism and or squatters in certain areas?
I don't know that we're seeing a huge increase in those types of calls for service. However, I do know that we have dealt with, and it's a problem not only in our community but others. You know, we have a housing shortage. We have a population of unsheltered or homeless individuals, and you know they're very attentive to the goings on in areas, and it's not something that we haven't seen where we have had someone watch a house, see it's vacant, and then decide that they're just going to move in and live there because no one else is living there. So you know, it's really important that you know, even if you're going to leave, a security system, cameras, especially now that you could be in Montana and still monitor the cameras on your home, you know, and give us a call. So yeah, it is an issue that we deal with. I don't know that we're seeing a rise, but when you have vacant homes and you have homeless, those two often find each other, and it's usually the homeless finding the home, and which will cause that problem. So. You know, I would just say that for your realtors who are going and showing those homes, you know, make sure that you're just really aware. Do a walk around maybe to see if you can see in. Make sure no one's living in there, because the last thing I want is one of your realtors or any realtor to walk in to show a house and find somebody in there. And if they do, they need to call us immediately. Okay.
Yeah, and with our office, it's been a running policy. When they're showing vacant properties or showing a property to someone that they don't know, that they usually pair up with someone to go to those properties and do exactly what you're saying. Never at dark, always during the day. Let people know where they're going to be, you know, and actually put it into a log. You know, we're going to be checking out and seeing a house, you know, so and so. We had a question here from Chris. Are you able to ask questions here in the chat? Absolutely. The chief is here to answer for the next 51 minutes. So feel free to ask or put any questions into the chat, please. Because I can only make up so many questions without anything in front of me. So
yeah, not only are you allowed, you're encouraged. So
there you go.
That's what it's all about. So just on that last point you made, Ken, that is, you know, I would hope that every realtor has adopted those types of policies, because you know there are some horror stories out there, you know, where a realtor has gone and met somebody they don't know at a that they don't know, and those are just dangerous situations. And we talk all the time that in order for a crime to be committed, right, people are going to be bored of me saying this, it takes really two things. It takes the intent of the person who wants to commit the crime, and it takes opportunity, right? And so, from our standpoint, we really want to work on removing opportunity. And it sounds like you've done that, which is really good. And I would encourage all realtors to have those types of policies, and just to keep each other safe.
And that actually extends not just for real estate, but also people that are putting stuff on Craigslist or the Facebook Marketplace, which is happening more and more. You should not be meeting at your house necessarily, if at all possible, meeting in a parking lot, meeting in front of a Starbucks, someplace that's crowded, someplace that's open. And so for that too.
That's a great point. We put out a while back, and maybe we should do it again, but we put out and I think it was maybe around the holidays, but encouraging people that if they're gonna buy something off Craigslist, and they're gonna meet somebody for an eBay sale or a Craigslist sale or marketplace sale, I encourage them to meet right out here in front of the public safety. We have a little 20-minute parking here. There's always someone here in this building. Meet in front of the building. We have cameras there. So, use your surroundings to your advantage, because there are people out there who just will take advantage of people right there. And that's what they're looking for. So yeah, I'm just putting it out there. If you have that done, feel free to do it right next to our building.
Yep. And if they refuse to do that, that's probably a good sign that you probably shouldn't have met them to begin with. We got another question that came in for you, Chief. This is why was that one police officer paid $75,000 to resign? Now he has been arrested with a question mark. Can you explain this or go into detail?
Well, I can't go into a lot of detail because it's a civil action, a court case. But what I can say is that I would encourage people not to mix up two different things. And the fact that there may have been a settlement reached with one of the officers, that doesn't necessarily mean that it was regarding the other issue with the interdiction, right? So I know that sometimes, when you read it in the paper, it comes out in the news report. Sometimes the full story is not there because the story sounds a lot better if you don't put all the facts in there. But yeah, I would just say don't confuse the two, and then put them together, and understand that when during the investigation, what we learned, based on what we learned, and cooperating with the FBI and other agencies, we did what needed to be done, and it showed in the indictments.
Okay, thank you. Question came in from Carol. What are you going to do about the loud vehicle racing on Enterprise Drive?
Yeah, well, it's Carol, it's not just on Enterprise Drive, I can tell you. We are for every one we catch, there's two out there that we're not catching. But we have increased our traffic enforcement, as I've said on some of the recent chats. We are requiring our officers to do 1 hour of traffic enforcement every day now, dedicated traffic enforcement. And so that's why we encourage people to write in and let us know where they're seeing the issues. Enterprise Drive, I will add that, especially if you can give me a time of day that we're doing it, so we can be effective in that. But I live over in L section, and that's become a racetrack lately. So we're trying to focus on that also. So it is all over. I can hear the cars when I'm in the house. But if you have a complaint like that, or you see, let me know, and I get them right to the traffic sergeant, and he gets them out to the staff, and then they know where to go. And I think I saw dinner time, which helps. Either that or someone's letting me know they're leaving because it's dinner time. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'll pass that on. Okay,
thank you. We have a question from Linda. How do you feel about the movement to remove the police from traffic patrols? Some cities are talking about using unarmed groups to patrol the streets.
Yeah, for law enforcement, traffic enforcement can be one of the more dangerous things we do, right? We're stopping a person who we don't know is in the vehicle. We don't know what's in the vehicle. We're getting out of our vehicle, which is a place of safety, and we're putting ourselves out on the side of the road where 2,000 and 3,000 pound vehicles are driving, on the street right next to us. So traffic enforcement and traffic stops are dangerous anyway. And part of my fear in that is that people are going to get hurt. And I think what we need to do, and it's something we're going to be looking at as a department, is trying to identify what is our purpose of traffic enforcement. What does it really look like? And what are we trying to accomplish with traffic enforcement? And really have a more directed approach to our traffic enforcement, so that it is actually addressing the safety issues that traffic concerns are causing to the city. Do I think it's a good idea to put civilians in charge of traffic control and traffic enforcement? I don't. It takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of experience, and it's a dangerous thing. And police officers, that they need to be doing that because they have the authority to enforce the law, and they also have the training to do it. So if it's done right, there's no reason to have anybody but police officers do it.
I remember my oldest daughter years ago, probably 10 years ago, was in the Explorer program, where they would help with traffic, direction during events and all that stuff. Is that program still in effect?
We haven't had the Explorer program here. It was disbanded just before I got here. We've talked about bringing it back. COVID hit, kind of put all that stuff on the back burner. We will be revisiting it. I think it's one of the best programs you can have. I have 2 officers currently working here who went through that program and are wanting to lead that program. So we have the interest, we have the desire, and there's no better way to introduce our youth to public safety than that. And and you're right, they're used at DUI checkpoints, they're used for traffic control, and so there is a place for civilian in traffic, but it's not in enforcement. But to go back to the point about the Explorer program, we will be revisiting that at some time and trying to bring it back. Yes.
I'm pretty sure she felt just cool wearing the jumpsuit and the boots. Whether she actually went out that day or not, she wore it around the house like a uniform. So we got another question that was just posted here. Yes, Enterprise Drive is bad. They use it they use it to street race because there are 2 straight lanes. I'm wondering if anything can be done about criminal activity or assaults on Copeland Creek Drive. Is it legal to put up cameras? A resident from a nearby was assaulted there a few months back at about 6:30 while on their evening walk, and police checked nearby cameras, but to no avail on the suspect.
So we do have cameras in city. It's not a complete citywide program, but we do have cameras in different areas of the city. So it's not that we would be unable to do it. And one of the things we have been doing, and this is one of the things that encourage us to do this is our officers, in addition to doing the mandatory hour directed traffic enforcement, is they have to do at least 30 minutes out of their car foot patrol. And many of those foot patrols are taking place on the creek paths and the areas around the creeks, just because of the fact that the creeks in this city are definitely thoroughfares, and people can get from one side of the city to the other, and they're used. So we want to get our bike patrols, our motorcycle patrols, and our foot patrols in there. I would love to have cameras on every street corner and every creek path we could have. And residents are able to put cameras and they can aim them wherever they want, as long as it's a place that's open to the public. So I would encourage residents, if they have the ability to put a camera up that shows a walkway or a creek path or an entrance, to do that, because any help we can get, we'd appreciate it. But we are giving a lot of extra patrols on our creek paths now.
Okay. Yeah, and Carol had just chimed back in with, there are many stolen vehicles on Enterprise, and seniors have become targets of theft. One of the questions that I'll ask here is, obviously with break-ins and porch pirates and so forth in and around Rohnert Park, with more and more people having like the Ring camera systems, and there's different brands of that camera system that have the Ring camera, or they have the spotlight cameras that trip on and all that. Has that led to any kind of reduction, and or has it also led to any more convictions?
Well, so I will say that any deterrent that you can put up is going to help. And the analogy I use is, I remember when the club came out years ago, where you lock it into your steering wheel, right? And everybody thought the club was it. I put my club on my car, I'm never going to get a stolen vehicle. Well, what we found, there were ways to get around the club, and I'm not going to say them on this, but there are ways to get around the club. But what we also found was, if you had a vehicle parked with a club and a vehicle next to it parked without a club, 9 times out of 10, the vehicle without the club was the one that got broken into and stolen, right? And it was because it was the path of least resistance, right? It was a deterrent. The club at least acted as a deterrent. Well, it's the same with cameras. People understand now that the cameras are they're on almost every house, and the lighting's getting better, and people don't want to be on camera, because they know that if they're on camera, we'll post them on Facebook and say, does anybody know this person? And someone's going to call us and say, I know that person, right? So we have had more luck since people put cameras on identifying people and making arrests on people. We also believe that it does deter people from getting up and taking them. Not everybody, there's still people who pull their hats down and then take them. But when I talk about they call porch pirates, package thieves, really there's so many other opportunities now. I see the Prime delivery and UPX delivery boxes outside stores, so you can have it delivered to a safe location, and then you can go get it. They send you a code. Talk to a neighbor, see if you can have it delivered there. I know that some people are using that feature where you can actually give the code to your garage to the driver, and they'll put it inside the garage. They'll put your garage up and put it inside the garage. Those drivers have been vetted, and they work for reputable companies. So I mean, there are things you can do to not have that stuff sitting on your porch. But porch piracy has been going on for so long, and it amazes me how many people still have packages delivered to their porch when no one's home. So you got to remove the opportunity, take the opportunity for that crime away. And like I said, if nothing else, just use one of those boxes in those storage places. Like, I think there's one outside Safeway here that you could have it delivered to, right? Have it delivered to the UPS store. They'll often hold it for you for a day or two. So in addition to cameras, there's a lot that can be done.
I think you dated yourself a little bit, sir, when you mentioned about the club. I think that went out when the REO Speedwagon cassettes went out. So I don't want to throw that out there for you. I had to interject a little bit with that.
I have a club for my '69 Chevy pickup, and I use it religiously.
And as well with the '78 Pinto, but I'm just saying that this dates a little bit. Let's go on to a question that just got posted. And this is regards to fireworks. So should I call and report illegal fireworks if I hear them in my neighborhood? If so, what sorts of details should I provide?
So yes, and we're moving up on that date quickly. So 2 years ago, the city council passed an ordinance tightening up our enforcement on illegal fireworks. And we added a social host aspect to the ordinance. And what the social host ordinance really did for us, it removed the need for us to actually see who is lighting off the fireworks, right? All we have to see is where they're coming from. And the property is responsible. So whoever the property owner is will get a citation. So, and this is a debate we've been having, right? What I'm saying is if you don't want illegal fireworks in your community or your neighborhood, you've got to call me and you got to let me know. But I can't always get there in time, right? Because I got to navigate the community and get there. But I need people who are willing to start going to their neighbor and saying, you know what, you need to stop that. Those illegal fireworks are going to start my house on fire or your house on fire or someone else's. If you continue doing it, I'm going to report you to the police, right? Because I don't need to see them. If you see them and you'll be willing to be a witness for me to say, I saw my neighbor lighting off illegal fireworks that were going up in the air, I will go over and write them the $1,000 ticket. I give you my word. But we are not going to address illegal fireworks until our community says it's socially unacceptable to do it, and we're not going to tolerate it. I can put my, on that night, I think we have about 40 officers who are working, 35, 40 officers who are working out there. And we're trying to get to them all, but we can't get to every call. We need your help to stop it. But we have to make it unacceptable. It's got to be socially unacceptable to do it. So please call us. But if you see them going off in your neighbor's yard and you're willing to be a witness, I'll go cite it just on your word. If you get some phone video or something, that'd be great. You can get it to me. So yes.
And what is do you know what the fine is?
It's $1,000. And I write the citation right there.
Wow.
Hand it to him.
Oh, wow. Well, so the next question is actually a continuation of that. It's in about 20 days, all fireworks are going to be illegal in Rohnert Park. Is that citation / violation going to extend to safe and sane fireworks that are brought in from somewhere else?
Yeah, so the new ordinance actually bans the sale and use of safe and sane state-approved fireworks. And of course, illegal fireworks are already banned. What we did do is the fine structure for illegal fireworks is $1,000 per occurrence. The fine structure for the use of safe and sane, I think it starts at $250, then $500 for the second, then $750. So the fine structure is a little different. But yeah, everything else is the same, just the fine structure changes. $1,000 for illegals, and I believe $250 for the first offense with safe and sane.
Okay. What this is just a follow-up question to that. What cities are left in Sonoma County that still allow fireworks?
So Sebastopol right now, however, my understanding is their council is moving towards an ordinance similar to ours, banning the sale and use. But that is not completed yet, but I do believe they are moving towards the same thing. And I want to say Cloverdale, you can still use safe and sane fireworks, but I believe that's all. I think only Cloverdale, and I'm not sure if they're moving towards an ordinance like that also. But the majority of counties and cities in California have banned the sale and use of safe and sane fireworks.
And that doesn't apply just to fountains style. That could be ground bloomers or any kind of fireworks that would be bought through a fireworks booth.
Yeah. Okay. The only thing that's legal are those little ones that you pull the string and the confetti comes out. About it.
I'm going to stockpile those for my birthdays, and we'll use those instead. So the next, so let's see here. Yeah, so that was the question about the fireworks, and do they have to go up in the air? And you're saying that basically anything that's that would be purchased through a fireworks booth is considered illegal at this point, safe and sane or otherwise.
If they go up in the air, they're illegal.
Okay.
If they stay mounted or staying on the ground, then they're safe and sane. And so either way, it's just going to depend on what the fine structure is going to be.
Okay, very good. One of the questions that I had, we don't have anything in the chat right yet, but one of the questions that people will ask me when they're looking at purchasing in Rohnert Park, especially if they don't know Rohnert Park, because we have a joint venture with firefighters and police officers here. Can you kind of just explain how that position works?
As a public safety officer?
For both. I mean, do you spend so many years in each as a rotation, or do you get to choose which service you want to be in?
No. So I will tell you, anybody who wants to move to Rohnert Park and ask that question, you should tell them they're in great hands, because the public safety model is a pretty incredible model. So every officer that we hire, especially if they have no training at all, the first thing we're going to do is hire them and put them in a police academy, which is a 20-week intense police academy. They'll come out of the academy, they'll go into a field training program, which is going to run about 16 weeks. And then they'll be released and they'll be a probationary officer on their own. At about somewhere around the 1.25 year mark, just maybe over the year mark, then we try to get them, we do what we can to get them in the fire academy. And we're going to now send them through a 16-week intense fire academy. They'll come out of that academy and then they'll go through an orientation, little field training for the fire side. So at that point, they're fully trained. We rotate in February and August. Those are our 2 rotations. And you do shift signups. So the rule here is you can't work the same discipline more than 2 years without changing and doing at least 1 rotation in the other discipline. So, as a public safety agency, you have to have a desire to be both a police officer and a firefighter. That doesn't happen in 99% of the cities in California. But, everybody's going to have their, everyone's going to lean one way or the other a little bit more, right? Their interest might be 60% law, 40% fire, or vice versa. So I have people who are completely fine with working, kind of being on the law side and going over to fire and doing their rotation and coming back to the law side. And I have people who are in fire who will stay in fire, come work the law side and go back. So we do rotate. We don't let anybody stay in one location too long because they've got to keep their skills up. And in addition to that, the officers work 4/10s. They work either Monday through Thursday or Thursday through Saturday. And the firefighters work what we call a 48-96. They're on for 48 hours and off for 96, right? And so on their days off, they may be assigned to fire, but on their days off, they may have to go over and pick up an overtime shift in police and vice versa. So they're constantly getting, no one's ever not working a discipline for 2 years. They're rotating back and forth. And then we have on Thursdays, because that's our double day, we have overlap. So those are our training days. And those training days throughout the year are both police and fire. So even if you're assigned to police, your Thursday training may be pulling hose, running hydrants, if fire hydrant, be in a burn building, right on scaffolding. So the training is maintained all year too. So yes, you are dual trained, and we have a significant number of people who are actually not only firefighters, but they're also paramedics and EMTs. So we have some highly trained personnel. The way I like to tell people is, when we have a fire, when we actually have a structure fire, our units, fire and police, are dispatched. Our police officers, when you're assigned to police, you still have your turnouts, all your fire gear is in your vehicle. And you're probably going to be the first person on scene, because I always say the little black and white cars get there quicker than the big red fire engines, right? So more than likely, you'll be first on scene. So now you've got someone on scene who is fire trained, who, as a response when a fire is coming, can be sizing up the fire, can be given dispatch information they need, can be calling in extra units they need. So it has really increased our response to fires also, because of the model. I didn't really know the model when I got here, but after learning it and realizing it, I embrace it. I think it's a great model.
Yeah, it is super cool. One of the follow-up statements or follow-ups was from Carol. This goes back when we were talking about, ring cameras and so forth, and she had put in that she said our floodlights have not been very helpful. I just wanted to throw a quick comment. Sometimes if the ring camera goes off, you can actually program it so that actually multiple cameras in floods go off at the same time. So maybe if there's a motion in one area, when it trips, it'll actually trip several other cameras and spotlights too. So it just lights up your entire front of the house, not just your driveway or just your walkway. But you can actually set it to go off in multiple locations at once just to brighten up everything. Chief, back to you. So one of the questions was, going back to fireworks again, what are the fines if fireworks start a fire? Is there anything different for that?
There are some civil remedies that they could be taken care of, especially if it's a residence. The victim residence would have, some civil avenues to explore on that. A lot of our crime codes are intentionally starting a fire. We do have some lesser crime codes. So yeah, there are some criminal things we could look at if fireworks start a fire. But a homeowner is going to probably have to go through a civil avenue, civil remedies for that.
Okay. And here's another question for you. What's with all the RVs and campers on the streets and driveways? I remember years ago it was prohibited. What's changed?
I wouldn't know when the caller or the question asker is saying years ago. The laws on the books that I'm aware of have always been 72-hour parking. I don't know that there's been a prohibition of not being able to park there. But it is a question that comes up on this chat almost every other week, and it is something that we're very aware of. We have in the public safety building, we have 3 community services officers who, they work on abandoned vehicles and overdue and overparked vehicles. We encourage people to call in, let us know, because you as a neighbor are going to know if that vehicle has been parked there in excess for 72 hours more than we're going to know. And if you call in, we can go out and tag it, mark it, put a 72-hour tag on it. And if it doesn't move, then we can address it in other ways with the citations or tows. But it is also something that as a city, we are starting to kind of grapple with and try to identify a better ordinance that might be able to address some of these issues. As I've said in the past, it's unfortunate that, individuals will go out and they'll buy a motorhome or they'll buy a camper, but they haven't planned the end of that plan on where are we going to store it, because storage of that on the street is not a storage place, right? The street is for people to move and traverse throughout the community. So if your plan is to buy a camper and then your storage plan is to have it on the street, that's just wrong. That's short-sighted of you. People who put it in their driveways, that's not a lot. If they put it on an approved surface, there's not a lot we can do about it. But we do try to address the ones on the street as much as possible. We've also talked about the fact that one of the things that hampers us on that is, a significant number of our unsheltered or our homeless are living in those campers, and they're parking, they're moving them around, and they live in it. So it makes it even more difficult for us to deal with the campers on the street that are being occupied by individuals who are homeless, because 1, they're not considered abandoned if there's someone living in them, and 2, the courts have been pretty specific on just how much we can enforce some of our ordinances and laws on homeless. Basically coming out and saying, if you don't have a place to put them, then don't move them. And that's pretty much what the courts have come out and said. And it makes it pretty difficult for us because we don't have a place to put them. So it makes it really difficult to move them. But please call us if you have one on the street and it's been there, call dispatch. It goes to our community services officer and they will go out and tag it and try to address it.
Okay. And I'll add one more part of that is that certain subdivisions, if you're in a condo or a townhouse subdivision, there are HOAs that will prohibit that type of vehicle from being there whatsoever, including the HOAs that are in the new sections of K and W. There are provisions in there because those two specific subdivisions have HOAs where A and B and all the rest of them don't have HOAs. There is an HOA there, and that's there. They have it in their CC&Rs that you can't have a vehicle there more than I think 24 hours, and it definitely can't, like you were saying, it can't extend into the sidewalk, trailer hitches and so forth. It becomes a public nuisance from their standpoint. Next question for you, Chief, is, when did I lose that? Do you see yourself during fire season having more additional officers for fire season?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't get any more positions during the fire season. But what we do is we do what we call upstaff. And so we take our available personnel who aren't working a shift at the time. So basically, if you're on your days off, you're going to be used to upstaff vehicles during a fire or during red flag days, or you're going to be put on a sign up list that if a fire does break or we need someone's calling for mutual aid, you'll be assigned to the fire. So during fire season, which I kind of feel like we're in already, we just use all the available personnel. Like I said, we have, our firefighters work, or our police work Monday through Thursday, Thursday through Sunday, or Thursday through, Sunday. So if you're working Thursday through Sunday and you're on your days off during fire season, you're probably on a fire engine being upstaffed, or you're on a mutual aid list and have a to-go bag at your front door, ready to be called to a fire anywhere.
So this was a partial comment and partial question here that came in. I am unable to back out of my driveway because of the neighbors' visitor cars that are in a line on our street. Also, work vehicles and boats. Some people even park near my driveway, and the cars extend over our driveway. When I was a teenager, when I had teenage children, they had warning tickets placed on their vehicles if they left them on the street overnight. And you'd already touched on this. How many vehicles are allowed per household? Is there a limit? And how many families are allowed per house? Things are different and change in our city. Is there a limit for that?
I don't believe there's a limit on how many people can live in a home. State law prohibits cities from determining who and how many can live in a home. And then as far as cars, it's interesting. We get calls all the time because someone will call us because someone parked in front of their home, right? And the person believes that that's their parking space. It's in front of my house. It's their parking space. So we have to explain that on a public street, anybody can park there. And so there's no number of vehicles a person can own. As long as those vehicles are parked legally, there's nothing, they're breaking no law. The blocking the driveway, in order to meet the criteria for blocking a driveway, the vehicle actually has to be preventing somebody from actually getting out of their driveway. If they're parked and part of the vehicle is extending into that, but you can still get out, there's not much we can do. But if they're legitimately blocking, you cannot get out of your driveway, you can call us. We can help you with that situation. And I always thought the first thing to do in a situation like that is maybe talk to your neighbor, right? And let them know the issues that what they're doing is causing. And I think a lot of things can be resolved like that. And then if they can't, then call us and get us involved, and maybe we can help. But Usually you'll have a better, more cohesive neighborhood if you just address some of the issues with your neighbors, if you feel comfortable doing it, before you get us involved. Because if we come out and we're the first person to address the problem, sometimes that can just create issues between the neighbors. So, I would encourage people to get to know their neighbors, build a relationship with them, and try to work things out like that at that level before you get us involved, so we don't come out and create other issues that wouldn't have started in the first place.
Is there something that you also can chime in on when, like, there are several landscape companies that have several work vehicles that are always on the streets, and so there's a few of them around town where you've got a contractor that's got 3 or 4 work trucks, or a landscaper that has 4 or 5 work trucks that are always brought back that night. Then the workers change out with that car and maybe leave their private car there and take the work truck out. Is there any restrictions on people having more than one or multiple business vehicles on the street?
So I would have to pull up the ordinance here, but what I can tell you is the way normal ordinances are written for home-based businesses, because that's normally what happens is you've got these types of businesses running out of the home, is that if you're going to run a home-based business, your business cannot change the look, shape, or desired outcome of a neighborhood, right? So if you're going to run a if you're going to run a tree trimming business, and you've got these big trucks and a little thing that shoots the chips into the back wagon, and you've got the wagon, and that's your equipment, you can run it out of your home, but you can't store that stuff on the street in the neighborhood, because neighborhoods don't normally have tree trimming trucks, right? So you're changing the look of that neighborhood. So I would have to look at the ordinance to see about, Rohnert Park, see if it has that, but that's generally the ordinance that's there when it comes to home-based business.
Okay. So I know you kind of talked about this before when we talked about the State Farm property. Carol is asking about how about the State Farm property as a temporary place to park RVs? Also, homeless who live in vehicles can possibly use the State Farm property. Obviously, that property is privately held.
Yes, the city doesn't own that property, and so it's interesting, so a few, I think probably, well, it's been going probably a while, 1.5 years, maybe a little bit longer. The city has two distinct groups that are working in homeless, right? And we work together, but we're individual groups. We have our homeless task force, which is made up of department heads and employees and personnel from all the different departments in the city: public works, development, housing, public safety, right? And we meet once a week to talk about, to track our homeless, our motorhomes, our encampment cleanups, right? That's what we do. But then there's another entity, another group that is in Rohnert Park called the Homeless Roundtable, and that is not made up of the city personnel. That was started by and facilitated by city personnel until it got going. But the roundtable is individuals, is our residents who meet monthly and try to work on some of these issues. And I know that one of the things that they're going to be talking about at the next meeting is a safe parking, a safe parking area, right? A privately run safe parking zone. And cities have them to where, at a certain time of night, people can pull in their RVs, and they have a safe place to work or to sleep. They have showers, they have trash facilities there, right? And then during the day, they leave, and at night they come back. It's a program that's run in some cities. And I know that the cities looked at it, and the Homeless Roundtable looked at it. The problem is, as Carol says, finding a piece of property, right? Finding that piece of property where we can do a safe parking area. And, you would need a private owner to come forward and do that. But we just haven't found that yet. But I'm not sure that as good as an idea it is, Carol, I'm not sure the location would work. It's right in the center. And plus it's privately owned, so we can't force that. But we are looking for it. But where I go with that is I encourage people, if you want to be part of the solution of trying to find the solutions around homelessness and how to deal with it, I would encourage you to go to the website, go to our website, and look at that homeless roundtable. And it might be something that someone or something you're interested in. You know, homelessness is not going to go away, and you know, we have to understand that, you know, those are human beings out there on you know, on the street and living in the bushes and living in the encampments and the trailers. And, you know, it's evident that they're unable to take and get themselves out of that situation to the next level and come out of it. We have to help them with that. So, you know, I encourage our community to come together and work together to try to find solutions to homelessness. Because that's the only way we're going to come out of this.
So one of the questions that came up is, and you answered actually most of it with already, was why don't we have a designated safe place to park the vehicles the homeless are living in? Many cities are doing this to get the vehicles off the street and out of the neighborhoods while providing a safe space, offering, you know, like you said, garbage, porta potties, possibly even showers and so forth. What about areas that are not privately held, like the storage areas where city vehicles were kept? Right off of Seed Farm Drive. Is that something where aren't there open spaces there that may work as well?
You know, we haven't at this point been able to identify a place that would work to put a safe parking area. I mean, I know it's been discussions. You know, often if you look at other cities, they're you know, a lot of them are done at churches, just because the expansive parking lots there. And you know, like I said, they're not all day. They're from 7 at night to 7 in the morning, and then you leave, and whatever the business is goes on about its normal business. But yeah, I mean, we're trying. I can tell you that you know, the city council recently approved some forgiveness and some permitting stuff, so that we could help a nonprofit come in with some showers. You know, they're doing that over on Boris Court at the church over there. And, you know, so on Wednesdays, they bring the showers in there, and they're, you know, they're given the opportunity for people to at least take a shower, which, you know, when this homeless issue first started and I was dealing with it, I mean, I didn't know how to feel. It's like, this is, you know, why are we dealing with this? Why don't we just, you know, move along? But, you know, over the years, I mean, I've been dealing with this for 10 years, and you start getting to know people and hearing their stories and understanding that, you know, everybody has a story, and you start realizing that, you know, these people aren't there because they want to be, right? Now, people may think so, but, you know, because of being on the street and some of the mental health issues it creates, and dependency issues it creates. And, you know, a lot of these people have just lost their own self-respect. They've lost their own dignity. And, you know, so we have to be compassionate in that. We have to understand that, you know, just bringing those showers once a week and someone can take a shower and get a new pair of clothes, you know, you're giving them back their dignity. And that might be the step to then talk to them about maybe getting in some transitional housing. And then from there, maybe getting, you know, going to a rehab, right? So you got to take baby steps, but, you know, we all have to pitch in, and, you know, I will, you know, but we have to do it in the right way. You know, I'm not a believer that handing someone $1 who's panhandling on the corner is helping them or helping the situation. I believe giving that $1 to a nonprofit or an agency who is working to help get them off the street is a good way to go. Because every time you give them $1, it's one more reason for them not to look for help at the services that are provided, right? If they're making it okay on the street corner, then they don't need to go into service. And we need to get them into service so they can get the rehab, the counseling to get themselves out. So, you know, just be aware, but, you know, don't turn a blind eye to them. They're people and they need our help.
Well, let's we'll finish up one last question in that round. And like I said, you answered this already. If you have any other final thoughts on it, I believe the state authorizes cities to use state property, such as areas under and around the freeways, for safe homeless parking locations. Have you looked into this? That's basically what you were just saying. I want to make sure we address the question. But that was basically what you were saying about, you know, also being able to offer services.
Yeah, exactly. You got, I mean, you know, the state, you know, I'm not sure that they have given permission. At least they haven't stepped out and given us permission yet that I know of. But maybe what people are seeing is because of the encampments they're seeing on some of the state properties. The state, when COVID hit, the state put some very, very, very tough restrictions on encampment cleanups and even addressing encampments. And I mean, we're having a really difficult time getting Caltrans in the state in to help us clean up state properties right now that we feel are a mess, but that don't rise to the level of what the state has said it has to be in order to come out and clean it up. So I don't know that they're allowing them, as opposed to they are not addressing them.
Okay. So I'm gonna change gears. So we have one in respect to code enforcement and for disabled cars parked on the weeds in front yards, weed abatement, and we obviously on the street once a citation has been served. What happens if the owner does not mitigate the problem? Is there another citation? Do they actually tow or impound?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this has happened over the last, not so much with COVID, but before COVID, we were taking a pretty aggressive stance on this, working with both city code enforcement and my CSOs, because kind of the way it works in Rohnert Park is my CSOs work from the street, the curb out to the street. So we deal with the stuff on the streets, and city code enforcement works from the curb towards the house. So they're the ones that deal with the yard cars and the weeds. But when we get a situation like you're talking about, we work together. And so I know that just before COVID hit and we were starting to go address some of those, we would get, it actually takes a court order to go onto the property and remove those cars and clean them up. But we would do that and then we would bill the property owner to recover our costs to do that. So yeah, we do have the authority to go in and remove a nuisance like that. It does take a court order. We have to go and convince a court order that or a judge that we need to go in and do it for safety reasons. And usually it's because of rodents and some of the other issues they're causing. But yeah, but if you do have a complaint like that, you can go on the city website and in the code enforcement area, and you can actually document your concern. And that's how code enforcement takes complaints like that also.
Chief, we got about 2.5 minutes left. I'm going to give you one last question. I think that'll probably take our time up. We have an owner in our condo complex. It came from Chris. We have an owner in our condo complex that has become a menace to our small community. Vandalism, threats, and now unfortunately animal abuse to a neighbor's pet. The witnesses do not want to give a statement to the police. Residents are feeling more in fear with the increased severity of these actions. Many police visits, but so far he keeps evading punishment. Any advice for dealing with this type of neighbor, and what are police looking for in order to make an arrest? This will probably be your last question.
Yeah, so when we're talking about criminal behavior, an officer has to see it. So it has to happen in the view of the officer in order for him to act on it, or we have to have information leading. So, it's kind of imperative on the neighbors to be witnesses and give the officers the information they need to move forward on it. If you don't have a willing victim, or you don't have a willing witness who can help, then the officer has to actually see it occur in their presence, and that's probably not going to happen. So, I would encourage if someone, pull the officer aside, come down here and report it. You don't have to report it in front of the person, but we don't tolerate animal abuse. We don't tolerate any kind of abuse to anybody. And so if it's happening, we need to know, but we need you to help us, because if you're the one seeing it, help us out, and we will take the action. We just need you to help us with the information.
I think you timed that perfectly. We're probably about 30 seconds left. So thank you for all the candid answers.
Ken, I want to thank you. I cold called you the other day. I think I walked into your office and said, "Hey, would you like to host a chat with the chief?" And you were gracious enough to do it. And so I really appreciate you giving up an hour of your valuable time to spend with us. Thank you. So for everybody who joined in tonight and to take the time to do this. I really appreciate it. I enjoy these. I look forward to my Tuesdays with everybody. We'll continue to do them as long as you want to have them. So we will see you in 2 weeks, which would be 28? No,
2
18th.
weeks, the 18th.
18th. We'll see you all on the 18th. Take care.
I'm going to get the chief a calendar between now and then.
Adding machine.
Good night.
Bye-bye.